The event I'm going to tell you about is known in history as the Voyage of the Damned. It all began in May 1939 in Hamburg. It was a few months only before the outbreak of Second World War, when the ship St. Louis set sail from Hamburg. It carried 937 passengers, almost all of whom were Jewish refugees from Germany, because they made huge prosecutions, especially after November 1938. It was the final warning that Germany is totally unsafe for them. The ship's captain, Gustav Schröder, was a decent, noble man. He objected procedures of the time, and he ordered his sailors to treat the Jewish passengers with complete respect as guests of his cruise, not as refugees. He even allowed them to cover the portrait of famous watercolor painter that was placed in the ballroom of the ship. He let it be covered because Jewish people were making praise in this place. Their initial destination was Havana. The passengers had purchased expensive tourist visas to Cuba, planning to wait there for approval to enter the United States. However, when they arrived, corrupt Cuban authorities suddenly said their visas are not important anymore. Only a handful of people were allowed to disembark, and the rest were trapped on the ship in the tropical heat. When Cuba finally ordered the ship to departure, Captain Schröder steered St. Louis toward the US coast. The ship sailed so close to Florida that the passengers could see the lights of Miami and the hotels on the beach. It was a moment of great hope, but also great tragedy, because President Franklin's Delano Roosevelt administration refused to accept this ship. Authorities cited exhausted annual immigration quotas and isolationist sentiments in the country, because they don't wanted to anger Germany. In 1939, USA still had very good relationships with this country. Moreover, instead of providing any assistance for these refugees, US Coastal Guard ships shadowed the ship to ensure that no one jumped overboard or attempted to swim to shore illegally. When the ship was forced to withdraw from United States waters, a group of Canadian clergy and academics attempted to convince the Canadian Prime Minister to grant them shelter. The ship was only 2 days' sail from Halifax. However, when asked how many Jews Canada could accept, a Canadian immigration official famously replied, "Even 0 is too many for us." Compare it to contemporary Canadian immigration policy. Captain Schröder refused to return to Germany, knowing that it meant camp for the passengers. And I'm not meaning a sport camp. Ultimately, after dramatic negotiation in the middle of Atlantic, the ship docked in Antwerp in Belgium. The refugees were then divided among 4 countries: Great Britain, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. These who ended up in Great Britain almost all survived the war. However, the rest, who ended in France, Belgium, and Netherlands, were trapped a year later when the famous painter invaded West Europe in 1940. This story demonstrates how powerful anti-Semitism was in America in the 1930s and how much they would now like to forget about it. So keep this story in mind, how situation change and politics change over years, and something that today for us is shocking, for them was completely normal, and it was legal to make such a horrifying things for these poor Jewish refugees.